Alright, so this next set is pouring. There's lots of ways to go with pouring, but we'll go start with the very basic pouring dry materials. And you can use pretty much any containers and any materials that you want to within the containers. These are obviously really cute little itty bitty measuring cups. I don't even know where you find something this tiny. But the way that you use them are going to be very similar. I recommend when you first start doing this activity, you do use something that has a handle and something that has a spout to make it easier. And you are going to be really careful with the way that you pick up the containers. Again, obviously it's very easy for you guys to pour, but we want to do it in a way that's going to make it the most successful for the child. So always hold it in front of the spout and then the handle. And exaggerated motions for pouring. I really like using things that make noise. It kind of gives it a little bit of extra sensory input there too. Now with pouring, sometimes your younger students will struggle with pouring the opposite way, so they're non-dominant hand pouring back. It's much easier for me to pour with my right hand as a support and my left hand as the pour because I'm right-handed. So if that's the case and you notice that a child struggles with that, you can show them that you can turn this and then pour it this way too. You should just always know that that's an option to have them continually pour in their dominant side.
Infants can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd obviously recommend larger containers for infants and definitely larger materials.
Yeah, I was gonna say not those.
See what else I have in here that you could do pouring with. These ones are kind of fun too. Just little tin coffee cups. Probably something even bigger than this. This measuring cup is probably about the smallest that I would do an item, just because when they go to pour things, it's going to be more difficult for them to get the item in the container. So it's not necessarily about them being able to get the stuff out, but finding the container that they're getting it into. So just to demonstrate what ends up happening usually with infants is they go like that.
Yeah.
You know, they're just trying to find their balance and they'll get some of the things in there. So I like to actually demonstrate dropping some of the materials because you'd be like, oh, you can show them how they pick them up and put them back. Does anyone want to practice pouring? Something to keep in mind when you hand a child the material is you always want to make sure that the material is on.
I know that, and I put it to the other side because I was like, it needs to be on the right, and that's how dyslexic I am. On the left.
You turn it around. I thought you were just messing with me. So when you present the activity, you're going to present from the child's left to right always.
Okay. So from here to here,
Yes.
like this. Or like that.
Are you left-handed?
No, I'm not left-handed. I just
See, I am. That's why that didn't.
That doesn't feel right to you. Yeah.
This doesn't feel right to me.
No, that would feel right to me.
Okay.
So it has nothing to do with dominance. It's not because we're assuming all kids are right-handed or
It's
left-handed.
like reading.
Yes,
left to
because
right.
we read left to right. So everything that we do, we want to subconsciously lay the foundation that things
Left
move
to
from
right,
left to right. Now, obviously, we end up going back, but if you're constantly demonstrating it in the child's perspective of left to right, and then the first time they do an activity, it's always from left to right.
So if you're introducing to a child that is left-handed, would you have them sit on a certain, like, a different side from you?
So you want to sit on the child's dominant
side. Okay.
Yes.
Did
we
you
haven't-
already say that? Sorry.
No, we haven't covered a lot of those concepts yet. I
Okay.
wanted to get to some presentations and then
No,
we'll
yeah.
talk about the specifics of them. I'm kind of laying the foundation
No.
through my presentations. Obviously, like, you guys are on the opposite side of me, so I'm not doing it correctly for your perspective. So if I'm the teacher and you're sitting across from me, then I need to be aware of the fact that you're not seeing it the same way I am. So if I'm presenting to you three, you guys are kind of like beside me, so it's really hard to do it when you're not like directly next to somebody. Then I would flip it and I would present this way.
Right.
First
Right to
time.
left.
But then when you hand it to the child, you want to make sure that you are putting whatever the material is on the child's left side. Yeah, I don't know why. I get what you were saying.
Yeah,
I don't know why
it
that
got
was-
real awkward for a second.
I don't know why that was easier for me. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter
Where's the
because it's
cup?
not about
Yeah.
easiness. It's just about
Doing it. Yeah.
It's just about doing it. So again, you can use any containers, any materials. This is another one that can be done really well seasonally because you can add in like these are Christmas bells, and you can do holiday decorated cups or whatever you want to do. And then you would do a similar activity with pouring water. The materials that I already had. And what are some items that I need to have since I'm going to be using water?
A cup to pour.
Yep, so I've got a cup. Now with this activity, if you're using measuring cups as the pouring
You can use
materials,
those?
you can use one of
Okay.
the measuring cups to get the water. You don't need like an extra measuring cup.
A sponge
A sponge and or a towel.
and an apron.
And an apron.
Can you leave a rag on there like that?
You can.
Like a
now
rolled up
the
rag?
rags are like when they get
Like a
wet, they're
small-
not gonna stay. Like you can't wring them out as well
Right.
as a sponge
Right.
to get them dry. So what, like in Miss Stasis class, what she always does is part of the setup of the material when a child is finished is to put a fresh towel on the tray for the next friend. So she actually has them like roll the towel up and
Yeah.
place it nicely on the tray. So it is ready for
When they
them.
run out of towels, no one can do it anymore.
Right. And we do run out of towels a lot.
Yeah.
So then the activity's just done for the day because there are no more towels. Yeah, very good. So sponge and or towel and something to carry the water in and an apron. So it's good for adults in the classroom to have an apron that is your size that you can wear as a model. I meant to grab one but I forgot, so I'm sorry guys. And then of course when you bring your water over, you're going to pour it into the left container based on how that looks to the child. And we will demonstrate the same thing, moving water. And again, I kind of like to make spills when I go. Oh my God. And obviously, you'd want to introduce squeezing a sponge before introducing this activity, so they know how to actually clean up. Anyone likes to practice at home?
Maybe that's
Oh, I put it the wrong way. I'm sorry.
I like that tray.
Isn't it your
It's
tray?
like a pouring tray.
No, it was down here.
It was down here?
Oh, yeah.
No.
But we will bring it up.
Yeah, it's all yours. Your tray now.
It's like pouring tray.
I love your facial expression. That's okay.
All the kids do. It's awesome.
I'm so excited about it.
It's the ideal spell.
Oops. Just a
I
teeny
had a
tiny.
student that would pick it up and they'd be like
Just dump it everywhere.
all over the other kids.
Oh,
So it's the-
no.
It's like raining.
It's like.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Not.
Oh man.
So it took a while for them to learn water.
Yes, I can imagine. Again, there's an infant activity that goes along with this. It would be a tub of water, and you would have containers where they could just practice scooping up water and then dumping it out, and scooping up water and dumping it out.
Like a large bowl.
Yeah, a large bowl. So pretty much all the water activities that we do in here, you can still do with infants. They basically just do within a water container versus having to practice any of this. Or if you have a big tub that has like deep sides like this, something a little larger where they can, it's okay if the water spills all over the bottom of it. It's deep enough to where they can scoop it back up. So they can still practice pouring, they can practice sponging into things, but there's not as much pressure to keep it contained.
Yes.
So we just want to set them up for success as much as possible. It would be an unrealistic expectation to give this to an infant.
Yeah, right.
Unless it was already filled with water. But then extensions to this, I'm going to grab. Well, lot of small cups right now. But what you could do is have some sort of a pitcher, and then have 2 or 3 cups to where they actually want to measure out like how much water should go into each cup. So you could start with just 2. So I have this one, and I'm going to give this one some. So you're actually pouring into more than one container. When you do something like this, it's really helpful if you do put pour lines on each of them. So you'd have one that has like a full pour, which would be the equivalent of both of the containers. And then how high do you want them to pour into each of them? So that serves as a control of error. It's okay if they don't get it exactly accurate, but that way they know like when they get around that line, they should stop so they have enough to get into the other containers.
Like it's just a line, so like you can't fill it past this.
Right. Exactly.
Or they can use different like measuring cups or cups. Like they know if the cup is large on the bottom. When they pour it in the cup that is not large, it's gonna like
Yeah.
have more water, but it's the same.
Good foundation for mass later on. Volume. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So we actually do discuss those concepts when they get into Upper Children's House. But at this age, it's really an exploration of what those volumes
Volume.
look like.
Okay.
Yeah, volume, not mass. Sorry. But yeah, clear cups are best for these. They can see through them, and then having those lines listed are really helpful as well. And then eventually, when they get into Children's House, not right now, but they would do like something like self-serve snack. You guys were starting to do that, or you have done that in the toddler room. I don't know how frequently they would pour themselves their own juice, but
Yeah.
eventually we would get to that point. We'll figure out how to bring that back. We'll figure it out. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
We brought back food prep.
Yes.
We did.